Hello everyone. I am filming this at literally 1 a.m. so there are crickets happening outside, just so you know. It is time for our fourth, why do I keep doing that? It is time for our fourth video in the 4-act structure series. This time we are going over Act 3, The Attack. Hey y'all, Future Nat here. Decided to just jump in super quickly while I was editing this video to remind y'all that I am now doing writing coaching, so if you need any help at all on your stories, feel free to visit the link in the description with my website. It's also super easy. It's just bit.ly/NatalieCWriting, and you can find all the coaching info on there. So let me know if you need some coaching because I would love to talk story with you. Back to the video. If you haven't seen the other videos in this series, you can find those right here. I went over a summary of all 4 acts, and then I have been going into each one in depth using Megamind as my example story, which I love so much. So at this point in the story, the stakes are getting higher. Things are getting more intense and more foreboding, darker. They're getting heavy. Like, this is when, like I said in the Act 2 video, Act 2 is like the fun, oh, we're learning how to navigate this stuff section, and then the midpoint happens and Act 3 goes into, oh, we need to learn what we've used because there's a bad guy. There's something to fight here. So Act 3 is when the world comes crashing down a little bit and the characters and the readers kind of realize what they're in for. Like, they kind of are like, oh, crap. It consists of bad guys close in, pinch point 2, a taste of success if you want or if you can. If you can, it's amazing. Disaster, dark moment, and then the aha moment or learning the theme. That is our 3rd act. Let's get into it. So first off is bad guys close in. This is the counterpart to fun and games. So it kind of mirrors, like, fun and games happens at the beginning of Act 2 and bad guys close in happens at the beginning of Act 3. So they kind of go hand in hand, but bad guys close in is obviously not fun and games. It's much more, basically in this plot point, the antagonist ramps up their efforts. They are attacking the protagonist harder, whatever that means for your story. And the protagonist, all the characters, the readers too, are starting to see what this antagonist is truly capable of. This is when they realize that the time to learn is over and the time to fight has begun. Because of that, this is the plot beat where the character starts to use the knowledge that they gained in Act 2. Act 2 is all about learning and adapting, and Act 3 is about employing the knowledge that we have gotten. But they're not quite powerful enough to beat the villain yet, so they are only managed to push them away for a minute. Also, quick side note, your villain doesn't have to be like some big antagonist. It could be, I don't know, if you have a character struggling with cancer, that could be it. So many things can be, I feel like I look so tired. Like, so many things can be this antagonist. I think I said in a past video that, like, you could have, like, in Sharknado, the Sharknado was probably the antagonist. Like, you can have weather things be the antagonist. You can have a Sharknado in your story, is what I'm saying. No one is stopping you. Isn't that so freeing to know? Put a Sharknado in your story. Okay, for the bad guys close in Megamind, this is basically, so he just went through this bad breakup with Roxanne, this bad fight with Minion, and he is now recommitting to being the bad guy. So this is the part where he, like, puts on the black mamba and he's looking sick, he's looking fresh. It's intense, but it's bittersweet because he knows he doesn't truly want to be bad. Like, he literally said in the midpoint, maybe I don't want to be the bad guy anymore, but he feels like it's the one thing he's good at. And especially after, you know, Roxanne switches his watch in the restaurant and screams, like, freaks out that it's him. And he has this thing around being normal, being seen as normal, being accepted. That's his need after all, you know, is to be accepted and loved for who he is. So he's going through right now this feeling of, I don't want to be evil, but like it's all I can be. Like he feels doomed to be the villain. So it's a super cool scene, but it's sad. And then he goes to fight Titan, and Titan doesn't show up. So he goes to find him, and he sees that Hal has used his powers, which Megamind gave him to use for good. He's using them to steal and to do things he doesn't need to do, to be a villain. He's not a great guy. And so Megamind's like really upset about this, and Hal wants to team up with Megamind to be evil together. And Megamind is like, that's not what I want. Like, he's like, I just want someone to fight. I just want someone to kind of have this fun rivalry with, to feel a sense of purpose. He realizes essentially that he's good compared to Hal. When it comes to his relationship with Hal, he is the good guy. So Megamind essentially goads Hal into this fight, and Hal starts fighting him, and he's like, yes, like, finally. And then he realizes like how good Hal is, like how well he trained this hero to be his enemy. And the pinch point happens right after this. So Bad Guys Close In kind of includes a little bit of the midpoint as well. Like the midpoint starts it. Megamind's interesting because some of these bleed together. Like there are stories where they're more separate, but these bleed together a little bit in Megamind. So Bad Guys Close In can also be a little bit attributed to what happens in the midpoint. Then we get to Pinch Point 2. Pinch Point 2 happens like right after Bad Guys Close in this story. Pinch Point 2 is yet another reminder that there is an antagonistic force, that we are not necessarily safe. There's still something to fight. It's a little bit more intense this time than it was the first time around. It's not just a, hey, there's a bad guy to fight. It's like, hey, there's a bad guy. So this is where Titan gets out of control. And at this point, he wants to kill Megamind. He's trying to kill Megamind. And Megamind, because he used copper to kill Metroman, and he used Metroman's powers to create Hal, he thinks that copper will stop Hal, but it doesn't. He learns that Titan is not susceptible to copper, and then he runs. So that is Pinch Point 2. After the pinch point is disaster. Disaster is where your character's fear catches up with them, and it basically just like pummels your character into the ground. Their fear just takes them for a joyride, and they are this close to giving up. Like they've lost all of their energy, all of their motivation to keep going. This happens in Megamind when, actually, you know what? I probably have some more eloquent things to say in my script. Oh, I skipped a taste of success because I think there might be a tiny taste of success when Hal starts fighting Megamind, because he's like, yes, this is what I wanted, but that's not where the taste of success usually is. And usually the taste of success is like, here's this thing that you've been looking for this entire time. It's yours. Here, take it. And then they're like, nope, just kidding. And so it's like a lot more drawn out and a horrible feeling than what happens in Megamind. When disaster strikes, it is what your character has been running from all along. It's the reason they accepted the call to action. It puts the character's entire world in danger. Not the entire world, it can be the entire world, but the character's entire world is in danger at this plot beat. This is when like everything comes crumbling down around them and their worst fears beginning to come true. In Megamind, the disaster plot beat is that they learn somehow, I can't remember how they find him or where they find him. I think it's the Schulhaus, but they learn that Metroman faked his death. And it's actually interesting because Metroman and Megamind have similar internal conflicts. They're both unhappy with where they ended up, and they both feel a little bit trapped in their role in this thing that they have going. Like Metroman's like, I don't always want to be this hero that's saving everybody, and Megamind's like, I don't always want to be this villain that everyone's afraid of.
Your weakness is copper?
Once your death ray hit, I've never felt so alive. So I borrowed a prop from a nearby nursing school. Metroman was finally dead. And Music Man was born.
Music Man?
That way I could keep my logo.
'Cause of
Come
what?
again?
I was finally free to get in touch with my true power. Weaving lyrical magic. Check this out.
So that's cool, the mirroring in their stories. But anyway, so they realize that Metroman faked his own death, and Metroman says he won't come with them to stop Hal. And Megamind believes he is the bad guy. And so he's like, well, I can't do it. I can't stop Hal because I'm not the good one. He's like, that's never been my thing. That's never been my strong suit. I am evil. I do evil things. I can't go against the bad guy.
So that's it? You're just giving up?
I'm the bad guy. I don't save the day. I don't fly off into the sunset. And I don't get the girl. I'm going home.
So he goes home to jail. And that leads us to the dark moment. And the dark moment's basically just... Oh, also it's called the Dark Night of the Soul if you want to be like really extra on storyteller about it. The dark moment's basically like, that's it, dude. All is lost. Where you force your readers and your characters to just like marinate in how disastrous things have become. And it's really like the end of the characters' rope. It's one of the last things that happens before they learn the theme, and they really have to be kind of beaten down to learn the theme, to be open and receptive to the theme. So at the dark moment, Roxanne Ritchie gets on the news and says, if no one comes to our aid, all may be lost. Titan is destroying the city. He's carving his name in the road with his laser eyes, spelling it Titan. Roxanne Ritchie is stolen away, and Minion is at his mom's house. Basically, the team is all split up, and this is like where Megamind's just like, I'm at home in jail. Like, I can't do anything about it. And then after that is the aha moment. And the aha moment is when the character is reminded of the theme, and this time they are in a place to truly hear it and to really learn it. And when they have absorbed the theme, taken it in, like taken it to heart, they change. They realize their need, they forget their desire, and they get ready for the climax. They're revived, basically. Like, I think this is, I call Act 4, the first beat in Act 4, I call the revival, because it really is like the character is brought back to life by learning their theme. They get the energy, the strength, the everything that they need to face the climax because of the aha moment. The aha moment, I think, really makes a difference between a story that's going to stick in your reader's head and a story that's going to fall flat. Like I said, the disaster to dark moment to aha moment, that whole thing, the whole process of your character being beaten down and learning the theme is so critical. So basically, during the dark moment, Roxanne Ritchie has been captured. She's at like the top of this tall building, and Hal is keeping her hostage. She's like tied to the metal or whatever. Hal is recording himself, and he's like, hey Roxanne, is there anything else you want to say to Megamind? He's like sitting in a jail cell watching this, and she tells him, you've never walked away from a fight before. And she says, the city needs you, I need you. And that is when Megamind realizes that he's good as he is. He's needed as he is. He's not hated because he's a villain. Roxanne doesn't truly hate him. Roxanne needs him. Everyone needs him. The city is without a hero. The city needs someone to stand up and protect them. And there is nothing truly stopping him from getting up and saving them and helping them. That's the moment where Megamind realizes, maybe I'm not just a bad guy. Like, maybe being bad isn't the only thing I'm good at. Maybe I don't have to find my worth in fighting against good. And maybe my identity is more than just being a villain. So that is Megamind's aha moment. So that brings us to Act 4. That is all of Act 3 in Megamind. So I really love the 4-act structure because it adds so much definition to the story. Like, oftentimes, if I have not used this structure, I feel like I get to the middle and I'm like, what's the story here? Like, what's happening? Because we have the start and the end in mind, and the middle just becomes, they call it the muddy middle. It just becomes a big blob of like, what's happening here? So splitting it into Act 2 and Act 3 is so genius and creates a much clearer like course of action for what the bulk of your story, really, the middle is the biggest part, looks like, and how you can engineer everything happening in the middle of the story to mean something to your character and to drive home the emotional point or message or moral or whatever of your story. Again, thank you all for being here. I appreciate y'all so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Happy trails.